just gonna have to crouch down. Okay. Hello, lovely friends. My name is Caroline, sometimes known as Freya Fennick on the internet. Today is the first day in March, and I promised myself in 2020 I would start vlogging. So here I am. So for most of you, this is probably the first time you've ever seen my face, but maybe quite a lot of you have seen my hands. I normally shoot tutorials and lessons for Art Witch Academy, which is a membership website, but I thought I would attempt to put my face on camera and see how I feel. I've been putting it off for so long because I do not have a pretty aesthetic room or a fancy studio. I can't really do anything about that. So this is my bedroom, this is where I work. So the reason why I thought I would try vlogging for a bit is because when I'm working on projects, I never finish anything in one go, and I'm always jumping around, so it makes it really hard for me to film tutorials and lessons and stuff unless I'm really committed to it, like I am for Art Witch Academy. And I know some people on Instagram have been asking for some video content, so I'm hoping I can keep this up. I'm aiming for like one a month, and it's just going to be studio vlogs, whatever I'm working on or stuff I have to do, and maybe some stuff about my life, but I don't lead a very interesting life, so I don't know about that. I don't really do anything other than make art and stuff, but we'll see. And another reason that I really wanted to start vlogging is because I really need to hold myself more accountable. I have chronic fatigue syndrome, otherwise known as ME, and so if I'm not careful, I spend all of my time in bed, and I've learned how to work from bed. I can make art from bed. I can do anything from my bed basically at this point, but it's not been very healthy for me, and so I figured this way I can hold myself accountable, sit at my desk a little bit more, hopefully get a little bit more work done, and maybe teach a bit at the same time. We'll see. Today it is Sunday, and I try my best not to do anything too worky on a Sunday. I do need to fill out my bullet journal for the month, for all of March. I'm quite behind my bullet journal, so I'll do a little BuJo with me, and then I do want to flip a new journal that I just created. I might do that as well today. So I think I'm going to start my day. I say start my day, it's 4 p.m. and I'm really sorry about the mess behind me, but this is my life, guys. I live in this mess with my studio lights and all my books and all my stuff everywhere. So sorry if it's distracting, but it's the way it is. Okay, bye. So the first thing I do when I set up my bullet journal is I like to plan out pages for my calendar and for my log, which is kind of like the bullet journal method log, where you put the dates down one side and you fill in your events and stuff. I don't actually have very many events in my life, but I like to have a brief overview anyway. So when I set up my BuJo for a new month, I like to put down pages for my calendar and my dates, but I also like to put down more witchy things like my tarot reading for the month, any ritual plans that I have, or anything else like that. I use a lot of my own printables mixed with other people's and things I find in magazines. Anything I like, really. So I'm just doing a 3-card spread for the beginning of this month. I tend to do this most months unless I just really can't be bothered for some reason. But I really enjoy planning out my month this way, looking at themes, looking at goals and obstacles that might come across my path. I just find it really relaxing and a great way to start my month. Something I'm really trying to work on this month and every month and all the time, I'll talk about it forever probably in like every vlog, is my routines. I really struggle with my routines. Living at home, working at home, being at home, having a chronic illness. I find it so hard. Like, I'm always struggling between like having too much structure and not enough structure, and not being flexible enough to account for the days where I can't get out of bed, or not being ambitious enough for the days where actually I can do so much more than I thought I could do. And so I'm always adjusting and changing my routines, and this is a really long list, but it's not do all of this every day. It's like pick a couple of these things to do every day, apart from shower and dress. I'm trying to do that every day as much as possible. You know, it's always a work in progress, and I find it really hard, like really hard. It's my biggest hurdle, is just keeping to a schedule of some type. Maybe like I don't even need one and it's all fine, I can just go with the flow, but then I find that sometimes I don't do things that are helpful to myself, like remember to cook dinner at a certain time or do my physio exercises. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm just now referring to the beginning of my BuJo where I wrote down my goals for the year, and I am transferring some of them into my months. So I split my goals up into quarters and then I transfer them to my months. Honestly, I hardly ever get anything done off these lists. I maybe get 1 or 2 things. I am an over planner, but you know, the intention's there. I thought I could give you a flip of my bullet journal, since I don't think I've ever actually flipped any of them on YouTube. I'm not sure, but I've got like 5 or 6 at this point. I want to share them, but I never seem to get around to it. So at the moment I'm using a B6 Stalogy. Normally I get through these really quickly, but recently I haven't been as dedicated as I used to be. So this has already lasted me 2 months and I'm only just halfway through. I know that sounds a lot for a 360 page book, but it's actually really good for me. Normally it would last me maximum 3 months, so hopefully I can get 5 out of this. So I do some of the stuff outlined in the bullet journal method by Ryder Carroll, and some of the stuff is more like BuJo arty, so it's a bit of both. I have basic indexes. I actually categorize my indexes because otherwise I can't find anything. And then I have pages for goals. I will flip through the writing rather quickly, to be honest, because I have work stuff in here as well, and I do keep work and personal together. I have future logs, but I only have them for 6 months, and honestly I don't really use them that much because I do have a Hobonichi weeks as well, where I put my weekly stuff and use the monthly calendars in here. But sometimes I like to try and plan out my month all at once in this, because I have a real problem with future planning. I'm really bad at it, and I get to the end of the month sometimes and I don't know what I've done with my month, or at the beginning of the month I feel really overwhelmed. So I do try, some months easier, some months better than others, I guess. I keep a ritual log and a synchronicity tracker. I'm also a witch, and so I combine my spiritual practice into here as well. This is just like a very basic overview. I have a grimoire where I write down things in more depth. This was a really big card reading I did at the beginning of the year, and these are my January intention pages. These are like the most decorated bits of my bullet journal. I always have a monthly calendar, basic to-do lists, some intentions, some goals, and these are all my own printables that you can find in my Etsy store as well. I do have the little calendar lined up like how it is in the bullet journal method book. Again, I don't use it massively, but I do like having it. Brain dump every month, sometimes I don't use them. And then these are my to-do lists for the month in categories. And then I have daily pages, and they're like quite a mess compared to a lot of other people's. Sometimes I do like a little timeline for the day, not always though. Normally I will pull a tarot card for the day, I'll write a summary of how I'm feeling, and then it's whatever I need it to be. So I was doing research for an Art Witch Academy lesson. That is the business I co-run with a couple of my friends. I'll leave a link to that in the description. A couple of tarot spreads I wanted to try, some ideas for YouTube. It's a real mess in here, but it just about works out. More daily pages, more notes for lessons. Sometimes I just collage in here. Depends what I need. This was when I really needed a daily schedule that day. So yeah, I really do use it depending on what I'm doing with the day will depend on what I write. Some weeks I like to write down all the astrological transits for the week, just the ones that kind of pertain to my natal chart, just to see. I just want to track it more. I'm finding it really interesting. Like, I've already learned a few things about how my energy is affected by certain transits, so that's really cool. This was some notes on a transit, like a planetary transit. More daily pages, a journal entry. I do have a separate journal, but sometimes I get really attached to one book, and so when that happens I just kind of stick everything in it. This is a printable from Courtney, a Little Raven ink. Sketch, not a very good sketch. This was an astrological like reading that I had done by somebody else who read my chart for me. I also like to put pictures of completed iPad artwork in here just to keep a log of what I've been doing, or sometimes not even completed, sometimes they're works in progress. This was a vision board that I never finished. Doesn't bode well. Some pages are just really messy. It really depends on what's going on in my life. This was a brain dump. I had so much going on that week. Sometimes I write good things at the end of the day. It's kind of like a gratitude log, but like more, I mean, it is a gratitude log, but it's more like making notes of my achievements during the day. I have a chronic illness, so sometimes I find it hard to notice when I'm doing good things for myself. Sometimes it's as small as I manage to change my sheets. It just really depends on how I'm feeling on the day. Another good things list, and I just use like, this is the only place where I really like sticker and use other people's collage ephemera in my art journals. I really like it just to be mine. So this is like freedom to do whatever I like. Page for art ideas, another unfinished collage, a brain dump, second index because I ran out of room. And I think now we're coming into February, and I was just so busy in February. These were my to-do list pages, and as you can see I did three of the things on all the pages. It was quite a month. This was a vision board I did for the month of February. These are my intentions pages using my printables again. And a tarot card pull for the month. This was a brain dump page. I really like this page. It's a real shame I didn't finish using it, to be honest. Trying to work out my routines. I'm forever trying to work out my routines. I work from home, I live at home, I do everything at home, and it just makes the day like so, it's really hard to define your day into like blocks of time when you're like that. So forever trying to figure out my routines. More daily pages. This is a vision board I haven't finished. It's becoming a theme. Maybe I should have a different journal for them. Looking at the transits again for that week. And this is coming up to the end now because I really, in February, there just was not time. I have started kind of making more decorated pages as well recently. I don't know, I didn't have much art time, so I guess my art time like spilled into my bullet journal. That happens to me quite a lot. I'll cut up anything as well and stick it in here. It's like my favourite thing about my bullet journal, to be honest. And then I have some pages blank that are ready to go in the back here that I can't wait to use. I don't normally watercolour on my pages, but I had like a mini phase of like watercolouring them. This was my February tarot. I had so many pentacles that month, like I just really wanted to, I made a little graph just to see. It was a very pentacle heavy month. It was very interesting. A little journal entry. I can't wait to use this page, it's gorgeous. And then I'm into March, and I'm just setting March up at the moment. I like it. I don't like it as much as January and February, but I'm pretty happy with it. Anyway, that was a little bit quick. I'm not really used to talking at the same time as flipping. I normally do voiceovers when I'm teaching, so this is a new experience for me. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed a little flip through my journal. And you can also, I think I'll also show you my favourite pens that I use in my journal all the time. This is a ballpoint by Faber-Castell, and I love it because it's neon pink, obviously. TWSBI Eco. I just love this pen so much. I just love demonstrator pens. I think they're really fun. I love my sparkly highlighters. I use them all the time. And then I have a Pentel Energel. I recently upgraded to the metal barrel and got a box of refills, which is awesome because I'm really trying to cut down on the amount of plastic and, you know, single-use plastic that I have in my life, so that helps a little bit. But anyway, like I said, you can find my printables in my Etsy store, and I'll leave a link in the profile. So I thought I might share with you a bit of an art journal page. Something that is probably going to be infuriating to like everyone that watches these, if there is anyone watching these, is that I basically never finish a journal spread in one go. And I toyed with not putting this in and waiting till I'd finished it and putting them all in one vlog together or in their own video, but honestly, to be honest, it might be months before it's finished, and it's just really hard for me to keep track of that. So this is part of a journal spread. It's actually, I'm trying to think about how I can explain what it's about. It's about the feelings I have about making a book that I'm writing and illustrating. It's those feelings of not feeling safe to do so, and that I don't know how because I've never done it before, and just all of that kind of confusion that comes with writing something that's very personal. It's kind of like a memoir type thing, so it's very much about me, which sounds really conceited, but it's about me and my life and my art, and trying to heal my chronic illness. It's called Reasons to Heal, and this is the first time I've publicly spoken about it, so I guess I better do it now. I don't know how much of the book process, etc., I'll be sharing publicly on YouTube because it's quite personal, but at the same time it's very time consuming and takes up so much of my brain power and art power that if I don't share it, I might run out of other things to share, so we'll see how it goes. I was considering putting them on the internet, but somewhere more private, like on a Patreon or a Mighty Network or something, not because I'm trying to like force everyone to pay to see my art, more like I feel like even if someone's paying just $2 a month for something, it means that they really want to know what I'm doing and are interested in what I'm sharing. I think what I'm trying to say is it cuts down on trolls and like random strangers stumbling across your art and your soul. I sound really dramatic, but this work for this project is really like taxing on my emotions and on my energy, and so as much as I am desperately wanting to share it with the world, I don't really feel so safe to do so right now, so we'll have to see how that goes. And then I thought I would just also show you, this is what I do. I jump from journal to journal all the time. This is a little A6 book. It's a Tomoe River paper books, and it has about 300 pages, so I'm going to be using it for a long time. I'll get bored of it in a couple of months and I'll use something else, and eventually I'll go back to it. I have a, what does Romany say? Romany on YouTube, she has a squirrel brain. That's me too many squirrels. So I'm using 6 books at once, jumping around. I try and be chronological, but it just doesn't work, so I guess I've just given up for now. But this is how I work in my books. I will paste down, collage, and then another session I'll go in and paint. Another session I'll go in and draw and write, and it just depends what I'm in the mood for. So I just really felt like putting down some paint on this date, so that is what I'm going to do on a few pages. And once again, like I said, you won't see anything finished, so sorry about that. I thought today I could give you a flip of this massive traveler's notebook that I put together recently. This is a cover by, I'm not going to be able to pronounce their name right, Elo Here Leather, Elo Here Leather, Elo Rear Leather, Elo Higher Leather. I'll have to look that up. I'll leave a link anyway in the appropriate places. But basically I decided that I wanted a special book for some of my studies that I'm doing into Celtic mythology and the fairy faith in Celtic mythology, folklore, that kind of thing. And I'm normally like a very much one book at a time kind of person, but this felt like a special project, so I made a special book. So it's mostly a total mess already, even though I haven't used it. It's mostly a junk journal. I wanted to make one junk journal, but naturally, being me, I made like 3, so I'll just flip through them. I'll see if there's anything that I need to add. I don't think so. It's just pretty paper. But I used up kind of like loads of my favourite paper, because I'm a paper hoarder, but this feels like a special project, so I went all out on the paper. I haven't really done anything in it yet. I've been waiting to film this flip before I start in it, and it took me forever to obviously get it together to film the flip, so it's been sat on my desk for a couple of weeks. But I'm hoping to do some of the stuff on camera. It's kind of personal, like it's quite a woo-woo thing to be doing, looking at fairies and goblins and Celtic faiths and stuff, but hopefully some of you guys will dig it, and even if you're not into that, you know, it's still junk journaling and pretty bits of paper, which we can all enjoy, I think. But yeah, I used actually quite a lot of the scrapbook paper in here is from like Halloween packets of scrapbook paper. But you know, whatever works. I also used some old book papers from this big book of mushrooms that I've got. I do have a few pieces of other people's art in here from, I think it was from I can't remember the name of the magazine. If I remember it, I'll mention it later in the comments. But I don't really like to have other people's artwork in my journals, especially in my mixed media books or in my sketchbooks. I don't want to copy things by accident, and I also like things to be original so I can make prints of them. But in a junk journal, I'm a little bit more comfortable having other people's stuff around. I think that's the beauty of it. I really wish I wasn't so hung up on like separating other people's stuff and my stuff, but when you make prints and like collage sheets and so on, it does kind of become important. I also used a lot more like tags and trim and stuff than I normally do. This is botanical dyed paper that I dyed. But yeah, I have all these trims and stuff and bits of fabric, and I'm not much of a fabric person, but I just love to collect them, so I finally found a place for them. So I went quite floral with this one to represent kind of like the nature spirits, because that's what I think of. I have a fairy magazine. This is a Brian Froud illustration out of a magazine. Another one. And this one has got loads of pockets as well. This is the second book. I basically made 3 signatures, and I'm thinking at the end I will bind them all together. But for now they are just loose signatures. Well, they're bound with a pamphlet stitch rather than bound all together. I also made an extra couple that I might actually put on Etsy, so if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll put them on there. They're very similar to this. This one isn't as decorated, so I think that's all of them. And then I also have some just basic mixed media paper for if I want to draw anything, because sometimes I find this impossible to draw on. So I have that. Then I have a notebook for research, books I'm reading and so on. This notebook came with the journal, Traveler's Notebook. It's really pink and it's really cute. I don't know what I'm going to use it for yet. And then I did also, this is like out of an old notebook that I'd finished with that was like really fat and I couldn't really use it anymore, so I took out the end of the paper. I don't know yet. I'm thinking one of these is going to be for book notes and the other one is going to be for like meditation notes and so on. but we shall see. But yeah, this is my big fairy journal. I guess I'm going to be calling it the Big Fat Fairy Journal. Like I said, I'm hoping that I can do some stuff in it on camera. I don't know if it's going to be on YouTube or Instagram or what, or inside of a vlog. We'll have to see. I'm like kind of like all over the place with the structure of my content at the moment. I'm trying to restructure everything into a manageable format for me. But anywho, somehow it will get done. Anyway, this was a very short flip, so I guess I'm just going to put this inside a vlog because it's only 5 minutes long. In which case I don't really need to say goodbye, but I'm going to do it anyway.